good week so far. So this is the last week of us looking at some of the monsters. So we've looked at monsters that are inside of us, so some of the things that we maybe worry about or we struggle with, and then we've also looked at the monsters out there, so the things that maybe we struggle with whenever we're out. So it might be school, it might be friends, different things like that. And we've also looked at maybe the monsters that we're scared of in the future. So maybe it's you're moving another school next year and you're a wee bit worried about it, or maybe you're like, what am I going to do in the future? What job am I going to get? What am I going to do with my life? So all those things we've looked at. Now today I want to look at how God is bigger than all of it. So God is bigger than everything that we've talked about. God's bigger than the little things that you worry about, and God's bigger than the most important things that you have in your life that you worry about. And that's something that we always struggle to remember, don't we? Because we forget how big God actually is. And I want to talk a little minute today about how God created the whole world. If any of you's ever read your Bible and you went to the first chapter of the book of the Bible, and it's called Genesis, and it tells you all about God creating the world. He created the sea, the animals, everything that you walk on today is being created from the very start from God. And God created you and I. And that's incredible. And whenever you think about God creating you and me, then we don't need to worry about all the monsters outside, sure we don't. Because God created us, so God knows what we need. So maybe we're a little bit worried about the next school we're going to go to. But God created you and He knows exactly where you need to be. So we don't need to worry. God actually says in His Bible to give all your worries to Him. So if you're a little bit scared about any monster that you see, and that doesn't necessarily mean a monster on the TV. It might mean you're maybe a bit worried about going into school at the minute with all this crazy stuff happening. Or maybe you're struggling with some of your classes in school. Or maybe you've got a friend who isn't being very nice to you. God understands, because God made you. God created the whole world, so He understands everything. God's bigger than all of those monsters, and all He asks of us is to give it to Him. So whenever we're worried about going to that friend in school that isn't very nice, or maybe you're dreading the class in school. When I was in school, I really hated maths. Even today, I hate maths. I am not the person to come to if you're trying to add something up. I use my calculator on my phone all the time. So I hated going to maths. Whenever I looked at my timetable and I seen I was in maths, I thought, oh no, I really hated it. But God wanted me to give that to Him. So if you're worried about that class you're going into, pray before you go in and go, God, I am so worried about this. I'm scared. I don't like this class. I'm not very good at it. Help me. And whenever you do that, well, God's bigger than that. So God's bigger than that maths class you don't like. God's bigger than that person maybe that you're struggling with. And God will help you through that, because God's bigger than it all. So if you haven't remembered anything from this whole month that we've looked at monsters, remember that God is bigger than your monsters. So you do not need to be afraid, because God is bigger and God has got you under control. He just wants you to come to Him with all your monsters, all your fears, all your worries, and God will control it, and God will work it out for you. But just remember, God's on your side, God's with you, and God's bigger than all your worries and fears today. So I hope you have a great week, and why don't you check out the craft we're about to do and get involved with it. And remember, send us all your pictures of your wonderful crafts. See you soon. Bye.
For our last craft of the month, we're going to make a monster that is so big, that has long arms and long legs. And the reason why we're doing this is because this week we learned that God is bigger than our monsters. And whenever we think about the story in week 1, we looked at Goliath, who was the monster in our story, and he was really big, wasn't he? He was a giant. But God is bigger than Goliath. God is bigger than anybody or anything that we see as monsters, anything that scares us today. God is bigger than that. So we're going to make a monster just to remember that God is bigger than everything. So I've got a piece of card here. You don't have to have cards, you can have a piece of paper, or you can paint it, you can colour in yourself, but I've got some card and I have just drew out a circle. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. Now I've got my body. We need to make some eyes. So I've got some plain paper. I'm just going to cut a little bit off it. Just about that, because you need the rest of the paper. So I've made 2 different shapes of eyes because monsters do never have the same shape or size of eyes. And then with the rest of the paper that you have, you're just going to need to cut 4 long strips going up like this. So you should have 4 strips once you're finished. Now we're just going to take one and we are actually going to fold it in and then we're going to fold it out. Now you might need to get an adult to help you with this, but it should look like this. And you just keep doing it until you're at the end of it. So in, out. So you should have lots of little mini squares. In, out, in, out. So that when you're finished, it should look like this. A bit like a slinky if you ever played with them when you were younger. So we're just going to stick those onto each side for the arms, and then we're going to do the exact same thing for the legs. I'm just going to write God is bigger. And there you have it. So it's got its long arms and its long legs. So why not give it a go, and again send us all your amazing creations. Have a great week. Bye!